Good morning. I'm the third one of this list. My name is Rafael Mateo from this university and in a center, in an institute which is located in Ciudad Real, in one of the provinces of this region. And my institute belongs to this university and the Spanish Council of Research. I'm going to talk about lead in sheep exposed to mining pollution, implications for animal and public health. And this is a part of the final project of Jennifer Pareja, and she's a new student in our group, and she's going to start working a bit more and probably doing the master thesis about this issue. Well, minerals are natural resources used by man. We all know this, and we know that these mining activities can have some environmental impact at several stages, during the extraction, during the processing, refining, smelting, and at the end by the accumulation of wastes in the land. And in many places, the restoration of the polluted site is very expensive, and in many cases, land is just abandoned and nobody is going to put money to restore something, and in many cases, nobody knows who is responsible of that because the companies have been sold, have disappeared, and it's very difficult to put the money there. Well, we have been working in the province of Ciudad Real in a mining area, an important mining area in the south of the province. It has been a mining area for lead. It was Argentiferous Galena. But it has been, the south of the province has also important ores of mercury, cinnabar, and in fact the Romans, they started the mining activities there. They established a city called Sisapo in the Alcudia Valley, and they started working with the cinnabar and later with the lead. So it has been for a long time a mining area. It was the world's leading producer for lead from the mid-19th century to the early 20th century. And right now we can find almost 500 mines in an area of about 2,100 square kilometers. So there's a lot of mines, small mines, distributed in all this shaded area that you can see here in the map. We have been working in this area for some years, several years. We started looking at the pollution for lead. We have been working with other metals, but mostly with lead, in the soils and the sediments of the creeks of these places. Here you can see the graph in the left, in the upper left, two sites that are in the control sites in the province, in Ciudad Real, and two other sites with the highest concentrations of lead in sediments in the mining area. So there's a clear relationship between the minery and the pollution of the sediments of these creeks. And the same for the plants is the next graph on the right, and especially with some grasses, Gramineae, but even in Quercus, the evergreen oak, or Rubus albifolius, the blackberries, can show higher contamination of lead than the control areas. The same trend was found for the liver of the animals. So the red deer living in these natural areas are more polluted than red deer from non-polluted sites. And the same trend was found for the bone. So we can see that there's a transfer from the soils to the plants to the ungulates, to the herbivorous animals. In these years, we have been working also in several effects of this pollution on the animals, on oxidative stress biomarkers. We have seen in several of our studies in different tissues the reduction of glutathione, an important antioxidant, a reduction of the sperm quality, at least in an effect on the acrosome of the spermatozoa, the reduced integrity of this part of the membrane of the spermatozoa. A decrease in the arachidonic acid in the membranes of the sperm and also in the testes. a change in the retinol levels. Tocopherol was less affected, but the retinol levels, the vitamin A, we found in several studies that the retinol esters, which is a form of storage, tend to decrease, and the free retinol tend to increase in these polluted sites. Changes in bone mineralization with a decrease in carbonate content. It seems that it doesn't affect the structure, the strength of the bone, but well, we have observed an effect. Effects on immune function, at least we have seen some changes in the expression of cytokines. And of course, there's an implication for food safety, because about 84% of the wild boar living in the area have muscle lead levels above the maximum residual levels established in the European Union for the meat of livestock, at least. And 57% of red deer, so these are values pretty high. Well, we started working a part of wildlife. Our center is more focused on wildlife, but we started working on cattle and sheep because we think it's an important issue in this area. And we could see a decrease in the ALAD, an enzyme which is very sensitive to the pollution of lead. It's an enzyme involved in the synthesis of the heme group, the hemoglobin. And we can see a significant decrease of this enzyme in the mining area, and related to the levels of blood in the lead of these animals. In the cattle and the sheep, it was the same. So the study which I'm going to present, and which is the work of Jennifer, the overall goal was to study exposure in sheep to lead pollution, evaluate the implications in this exposure in the animal health of the sheep, in the health of the sheep, but also to study the risk for human consumers. This was the first study in which we could measure lead levels in the muscle of livestock. In the previous one, we could only work with the blood of the animals. Methods, well, this is our study area. As I said, it was the mining activity that started with the Romans. And these are some of the values that we can find in the farm that we took as the polluted site, with very high levels of lead in soils, in plants, in water. In most of the cases, these levels are exceeding some critical values: soil, plants, and water. This is a picture of the mining site, of the farm in the mining site. You can see here some remains of the mine, some piles of chat, and the levels of lead in plants, water, and soil. Just to say that, well, the animals, you can see here the trails of the animals. So the animals are moving through this polluted area. So they are in contact with polluted soils, polluted plants. And in fact, in the B point, there has been in the last 2 years a couple of cases of lethal poisoning in cattle. Well, we took in a control area in the north of the province 20 samples of blood, liver, and muscle of sheep in the slaughterhouse, and we could take some samples of blood in the farm, in the mining site, some males and especially females. And the females went to the slaughterhouse because they were, in fact, positive to Brucella, so they had to be killed by this reason. Well, we analyzed the blood levels with Triton, and by dilution with Triton, and in the case of the tissues, we did the lyophilization first, and then digestion in thermoblocks, and after that, the analysis by graphite furnace atomic absorption spectroscopy. 95–98% of recovery in this study for the lead. And what do we have as results? Well, the blood levels in the control area are much lower than in the mining site, and a bit higher levels in the males than in the females. There's not a significant difference, but there's like this trend. And well, we can see this line in the middle of the graph at 6 micrograms per deciliter, which shows the level of subclinical poisoning. Most of the animals in the polluted site are within this subclinical poisoning threshold, or about 77% of the animals, 100% in the males, 63% in the females. We have seen something interesting, I think. It's a negative relationship between the age and the blood levels. These are some males and some females, and it seems that the trend is the same in both groups. And yes, the levels in blood tend to decrease with the age of the sheep. And of course, the younger animals have a higher absorption of lead, so maybe there's something to be with that. In the liver, it is the same. The animals from the control area have lower levels than in the mining area, and about 87% of the animals are above the levels established by the European Union for the maximum levels of lead in offal, in liver, and all these things. And about 65% of the animals will show levels above the toxic, well, subclinical, maybe, sublethal, toxic level of 5 micrograms per gram in dry weight. So yes, the animals there, probably these livers cannot be eaten by humans. These animals are suffering some kind of effects. In the case of mussel, the same, higher levels in the mining area, but we have seen that none of them were above the maximum residual level established by the European Union at 0.34 micrograms per gram in dry weight, which is 0.1 in wet weight. Well, this is something strange. We didn't expect that result, but well, this is the result. And maybe we have to analyze some lambs or some ram because maybe they have higher levels. We saw before that the males tend to have higher levels, and of course the younger animals tend to have higher levels. So this is something we have to do in the future, probably, analyze some lambs. Looking at the age in the sheep, taking into account that all of them are adults from 5 to 7 years old, in the liver and the muscle, there's no significant effect of the age, but there's like a trend to increase the levels in the liver and the muscle. But it is very, very clear the difference between the control and the mining area, of course. And just to finish, the correlation between the levels in the liver, in the muscle, in blood, there are significant correlations, but the most important is that the correlation is driven by the two areas, by the two sites. And looking at the specific relationship between within an area, we can see that there's no linear correlations within the area. All is determined by the factor zone. Conclusions? Well, sheep from the mining district of Alcudia Valley and Sierra Madrona have blood and liver levels, lead levels indicative of a chronic exposure to the lead contamination persisting in the area. And these levels are high enough to be considered as health risks for the livestock. The lead levels in the muscle of the adult sheep from the mining area are lower than the limits established by the European Union. Probably we have to do some more work with the lambs. And well, the results of this project highlight the need to increase the surveillance of exposure of livestock to lead contamination in mining polluted sites, and adopt some measures to minimize the exposure of livestock to such mining pollution by appropriate management of highly polluted soils and the restriction of access of the animals to these sites. This is something that probably has to be studied farm by farm, place by place, side by side. And that's all. Thank you very much. And as I said, this is the email of Jennifer, who is working with and this is one of her sheep, because she is, in fact, the shepherd of of this farm, this polluted farm. So it's very implicated in the study of this area. So that's all. Thank you.